Snipers, you have to see what's happening to the Bitcoin price today as we are clearly breaching above the 100-day moving average right now with a breakout above 42,000 US dollars for Bitcoin. We have to monitor what's happening inside of the smaller time frames like the 6-hour institutional time frame, because everything is going to morph from the smaller time frames into the larger time frames. And now we have a puzzle piece to look at, which is this break above 42,000 with institutional volume, by the way. And so we'll look at the micro timeframes and discuss other revolving parts. And specifically, I want to talk about this puzzle piece that we've had on the table over the last few weeks for those that have been tuned into the Snipers channel. That's the strength of the US dollar finding its third lower high, because so far it's formed two lower highs in which it has initiated a very strong bull market for the cryptocurrency market, like in 2018 and 2020. And right now we are expecting a third lower high. And the question is, where is that lower high going to come? We're already testing a major resistance level, which we know here on the Snipers channel. But what's very interesting is some of the correlating charts to this, actually a specific chart that has an inverse correlation to the DXY that I'm going to share with you guys. But I want to dive into the micro time frames as we always do for Bitcoin. We'll discuss the revolving parts. And it's clear that we have a breakout right now above the 100-day moving average. And this has been what we've been waiting for. We expect Bitcoin right now to potentially follow the S&P 500 inside of this ascending triangle to break out above its 200-day moving average with a potential target of just around the $59,000 level. This is the scenario that we have on the table. If you haven't watched our video from 5 days ago, I believe at this point, we talked about how this scenario would come into play, but we have multiple bottoming formations here, an Adam and Eve bottom, an ascending triangle, and a lot of different things are pointing us towards this area here at 58,353 to be exact. We'll actually slide right into the Snipers chart with that transition and look at what's happening right now at 41,950, because we know at 44,800, this is where we expect the most amount of volume to come in, at least on the institutional side, because this has been the major resistance in a more macro sense where we've tested it 4 times already and we've been rejected by this level. And so now we are playing pretty much in the end zone, and with 41,950 being a major resistance already, seeing Bitcoin breach above it, it is now a major support. And not too far away is this $44,800 level, let's say 4% away. And so it looks like, with all of the other revolving parts, like the weekly chart on Bitcoin showing a hidden bullish divergence on the RSI, the rising amount of institutional buy pressure here around the $38,000 to $35,000 level that we've seen over the last few weeks, and many other revolving parts like the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust against money supply chart hitting the 200-week moving average and just completely reversing back to the upside, still at a very deep discount, but we could expect that to eventually wear away because usually it's in a premium. And so all of these puzzle pieces are leading us to the fact. And then lastly, here on the Snipers channel, we cover the S&P 500 testing its 200-day moving average over the last 7 days. Why wouldn't we expect Bitcoin to also at this point complete this breakout of the ascending triangle to break out above the 200-day moving average? I think it's very likely and is certainly on the table. And what I would like to look at more than anything is the line chart for Bitcoin, because this factors in just the candle closes. And this is really the structure that I'm monitoring right here. It's this ascending triangle. I know some people have called it a symmetrical triangle. And if we look at Ethereum, for example, it looks like it's already breaking its resistance. But I think that beyond this symmetrical triangle, we want to look at this ascending triangle. 45,000 is really the breakout zone. All of the revolving parts are still in the favor that this scenario is likely to happen. At least if it were to just mimic what the S&P 500 has done, it would at least get to 50,000, right? Because it would come near that 200-day moving average. So it's almost as if this is already coming into play. And so I would say that if 41,950 gets breached, yes, there's a potential we could see a little bit of more sideways price action. But at this point, until we see 40,000 get breached, we have to stay bullish on Bitcoin. I think that that's really the clear level that we want to maintain. We didn't break it through the weekend, and so that was a very big puzzle piece. And so that's really what I'm watching. The line chart and the ascending triangle with a resistance of 45,000 US dollars. That's the major pattern that we want to break. It's a very nice thing to see Bitcoin right now above 41,950. It's great. And we are seeing this push with institutional volume, and we haven't seen sellers come and overtake the amount of buy pressure we're seeing. Just notice how much buy volume is coming in and the lack of sell pressure that's come in with this move. Just even looking at the 5-minute chart, no sellers with this capacity. And so it looks like institutions are slowly pushing the price up. They're not going to want to push it too fast if they want to continue to accumulate. And so it doesn't look like we've found the destination. It looks like the destination is yet to be found and is currently also testing the monthly open, which is interesting at 43,000 US dollars. But I'm not too worried about that monthly open because the S&P 500 smashed right through its monthly open, right? And so once again, Bitcoin has been stronger than the S&P 500 through January and February. Why would that change in March? Just if we look at the monthly candles and the lows. And so this is allowing Ethereum to also move above its monthly open. The Ethereum to Bitcoin chart has been showing strength. We'll cover more of the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart as we approach this resistance here, right around that 73,000 Satoshi level where we have the 200-day moving average. But for now, we're just going to let this chart do what it wants to do. And this, to me, is more of a market sentiment indicator saying that there's less fear in the cryptocurrency market, and that could lead the altcoins outside of Ethereum to also follow, because we've always looked at the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart as a leading indicator for every other altcoin outside of Ethereum. So once again, we talked about Bitcoin dominance. We found something very interesting yesterday correlating with the gold to Bitcoin chart. And what's really cool is we talked about Bitcoin dominance breaching through its 50-day moving average yesterday, but the gold to Bitcoin chart just tested its 50-day moving average. But guess what happened today? If we go back to this chart, the gold to Bitcoin chart now followed the Bitcoin dominance chart and breached its 50-day moving average. So talk about a correlation there. We are seeing it really follow the Bitcoin dominance chart, the gold to Bitcoin chart. And as we talked about yesterday, the only assumption is if this chart continues its macro trend down, that it's because Bitcoin is either going up and outpacing gold as gold moves into price discovery, or gold moves sideways and Bitcoin continues to move up, because that would justify the chart moving down, not moving up. And so that would be the only thesis there. And so both of those theses include Bitcoin moving up for this to happen. And so that was really cool to find, and that was a great confirmation. And then lastly, as I talked about earlier in the video, because everything else outside of the cryptocurrency market is probably not too important right now, but this is really important, and that's the DXY. As I talked about, we're looking for this lower high, and at this point, we are testing 99.132, that if we do not get back above this level, we could expect the top here for the DXY, and the confirmation would be breaching this structural support level that has held since 2011. And so we've been monitoring this. We breached it in 2020, and then recently we came back above it. And so the question is, now that we've already shown weakness there, we've broke it, why would we stay above it? And we're also expecting the DXY to form a lower high here very soon, just because even in 2020, we couldn't surpass the high from 2017. And so just that alone shows that there's a very unlikely chance it's going to come to form a higher high. And so it's either we find the top here or we find it very soon, right? Because that would only make sense. And it's very cool to see that we actually might have a puzzle piece here that is telling us that it actually already found resistance, and that's the Euro to USD chart. Sorry if you hear my dog in the background. But the Euro to USD chart here on the weekly, you can see just recently tested this monthly support level that dates back to 2017. And this in the past, you can pretty much say every time this has bottomed out and moved up, it's rallied Bitcoin to the upside, right? 2020 and 2017. So it's the same thing. It's just an inverse correlation to the DXY. And it's already tested a major monthly support, basically telling me, looking at the chart, that, okay, the USD has gotten strong enough. It's already priced in the interest rate hikes. It's already priced in the inflation, and it's time for it to find more resistance and follow a macro trend that it's been following for years, right? So if that's the case, that could be the bottom here for Bitcoin. We move up and we get to 58,353. We consolidate, we move sideways before a continuation move to new all-time highs, possibly by the end of this year, maybe before the end of this year. who knows? We'll see. So I think that it was important for me to be on the chart for this video just because everything has been accurate on the channel. We've been monitoring this very closely, and all of our expectations have come true. It's totally fine so far for this breakout right now to find some resistance at the monthly open. We know the S&P 500 smashed through its monthly open. So this is just garden variety market behavior. The chart telling us that these are important levels. That's exactly what we want to see. And so this is still very premature, but so far the looks of it, and the likelihood that we continue further up, I think is high here. So if we come back for another dip, 40,000 is that major level for the support. So thank you all for tuning into the Snipers channel this Tuesday. I appreciate each and every one of you tuned into the channel. I couldn't do this without you. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm if you support this 4-dimensional content. And I'm going to go take my dog on a walk because he's obviously ready to play. And so I'll see you guys next time. Snipers out.